Hi there, Shelley Sullivan, spiritual teacher, intuitive healer, and I'm so glad you're joining me for part two. Part one of my last video was paying attention to the signs and messages in order to get on your spiritual path. And I'm sharing with you my spiritual journey to my spiritual awakening. So in the first video, I discussed how to raise your consciousness through purification, detoxification, and ultimately how my third eye was activated. And now in part two, I want to connect the two, where now that the third eye is actually activated, we want to connect it with the heart space. So therefore, the messages, signs, etc. that you're going to be paying attention to are not only from infinite realm of God, consciousness, angels, extraterrestrials, whatever you tune into, but it's going to be more so from your higher self now. So once you connect the pineal gland with your heart space and live from this space, you're no longer living from an egoic space. You're actually tuning into your heart and what feels right to you. And ways that I know that how I tuned into mine was when I had to make decisions, I would actually feel them out. I wouldn't think them through as much as feel them through. And I have one experience where I released a video, Abundance Equals Oneness, where I was just compelled to have an interaction with an older homeless man and give him money. And I didn't even realize what was taking place from a mind level. It was more heart speaking. And this just opened my mind up to actually how it feels to live from the heart. When you reach this type of consciousness, you're gonna connect with your higher self. And what your higher self is it is a vast, powerful source of energy that is streamed from source and with tons of knowledge that comes through into your physical system. And once you connect the two, you merge the two, which takes a bit of work. But first and foremost, it's acknowledging that you have a higher self. Beyond your physical body and your spirit, you actually have a higher connection to source. And again, you want to merge that through. And the way to doing this is living from your heart space. So you can practice meditations where you are actually connecting to your heart, listening to your heartbeat. And there's some meditations where you strictly connect with breathing. Here, you're going to be connecting with your heart space and listening to your heart. When I connected with my higher self and merged with me, I started receiving signs from my higher self where she would literally, it would manipulate my computer, change things on my phone, give me messages through my phone. And I knew instinctively I was connecting with my higher self. So in the beginning with the first video, I was paying attention to signs from infinite realm. And for me, it was angels, because that's who I resonate with, being an angelic being. And again, for others, it may be other things. But once you get to a certain awareness, then you can have your higher self go to work. And once you activate the pineal gland and connect it with the heart, that's when your higher self is really going to shine through and start guiding you into your spiritual awakening. Then you're going to be connecting directly with your higher self. And what your higher self is, it's a infinite stream, energetic, vast energy that is connected with source, and it brings through information into your now in order for you to work with. And once you connect with the higher self, it's beautiful because they work with you so perfectly and show you messages, guidance, and signs, just like the infinite realm does. But this is more specific, I think, towards your mission and spiritual purpose. Now, for me, how I resonated with this is I would often get signs from my higher self. But the way I knew we were connected was I was connected my pineal gland with my heart space, and I was living from that area. Once I did that and lived from my heart space and got into that, that's when I knew I was connected with my higher self. And my higher self would show me things on websites, text messages telling me to do something or not to, pop-ups on websites informing me that I needed to pay attention to something. And this was going on and on and on. Like, I've had this many times where I was unsure of a decision I was making, whether I was going to meet with a certain person or not. And I kind of felt hesitant about whether I should do it or not. And literally my higher self jumped in there and navigated the computer to show me clearly that person's name and no, don't do that. I've also received messages on text where, not a text being sent to me, but in the space where the text is typed, asking me why. Like, why are you doing that? So clearly they were connecting with me to show me and keep me on my spiritual path. So the difference between a spiritual journey and a spiritual awakening, in my opinion, is that when you're on a spiritual journey, you're being shown different paths on how to get onto your purpose. And you're being shown, as I discussed, messages, signs, symbols, numbers. Once you get to that heightened awareness, your consciousness is raised to such a degree where you're living from a place of love and no fear. You're in a whole new ball game now, and that's when things really change for you. And that's when you're on an actual spiritual awakening, because you're living it now. You're not talking about it. You're not waking up to it. You're actually living it. So you're living in a fifth, sixth dimension. And when that happens, that's when your abilities to instantaneously manifest do come in. So a lot of people want to learn, how can I manifest quicker and quicker? Well, the more you raise your vibration, once you do the detoxification and you keep raising and raising and start living from that space of pure love, then things are going to happen quicker for you because you're aligned with anything that you want at that time. So one example of how I instantaneously manifested, I wouldn't say instantaneously, it took about 2 weeks, was when I decided I wanted to meet someone specific that I was really drawn to. And within 2 weeks, I can't even tell you how it happened so fast, I didn't even know what was happening. But I met him instantly because my vibration was so high in order to attract that into my life. So if you continue to follow the steps of raising your vibration, paying attention to the signs around you, and going through the process in order to get onto your spiritual awakening, then you can manifest instantaneously. It's imperative that you connect with your heart space and live from that space. Just because my compassion, my kindness, and my love has risen into a higher consciousness, that you naturally go into this state. So once you connect and merge with your higher self and bring that spiritual being in with you, that's when your life is going to change. So I have a story that when I knew my higher self was working with me, and I was driving along the 404, a very busy highway in Toronto, and my dog, Puppy at the time, 9 months old, jumped out of the car onto the highway. So immediately I stopped the car, not thinking with my mind, I'll tell you that. I was thinking with my heart, and traffic was going, and I went to get my dog. So I started calling her to me, honey, come to me. And every time I pursued her, she ran further. She was a 9-month-old dog. And this yellow lab kept going further and further from me. So cars started to stop and help me and ask me her name, do you have any treats? And like it was causing quite a situation on the highway. And so then there came a point where I pursued her again, and I said, honey, I was basically begging in tears at this time, honey, come. And she jumped over the pillars into the next ongoing traffic, where it was much even busier, where the 401 was now merging with the traffic. At that point there, I put my hands up and I said, Russian roulette, who's going to kill my dog? And that's when I had this out-of-body experience, and I realized that my soul left my body, a miracle took place. All of a sudden, honey's way over there in the other lanes, and by a miracle, she all of a sudden was guided right back into the car, jumped in as if nothing happened, and everyone was pretty much amazed. So later, after tapping into my higher self, learning that we do work with angelic beings, etc., I learned that my higher self left my body, went and got the dog and brought her back. Another experience I had to confirm that I work with angels and my higher self was I was in a car accident in 1995, and it was I left the destination where I was and ended up in an accident, went through the windshield, was unconscious. But all of a sudden I awoke and I was standing at my destination of where I had been prior to the accident, full of blood, head to toe, in a doorway. Don't know how I got there. And all my friends are just looking at me like, and they just didn't know what happened. And I kind of awoke and I realized that I was guided back there. And, you know, then they pursued to call the ambulance, and I was taken to the hospital and taken care of. But I realized later, after getting out of the shock and out of the hospital and getting back home, that I was guided from angelic beings, and my higher self being one of them. So our higher selves are constantly guiding us and working with us, and you just have to believe in it and pay attention, and that's when these miracles take place. A lot of people are shutting this stuff out, or now they're realizing it, and you can't shut it out anymore. You have to grasp it and work with it, because we're constantly being shown messages and guidance from infinite realm. Okay, so these are the stories I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to be continuing on, and I'm so grateful that you tune in and share this amazing journey with me, because we are in a very special time right now, and miracles are happening every day. Love and light, Shelley.